Today we're talking about gun control data. Now the reason we're doing this is I came across an article in Science News, and this article is titled Misfire in Gun Control Data. And you know, the thing that kind of caught my eye on this particular report was that they compared the state of Missouri to the state of Connecticut. Now, being from the great state of Missouri, it caught my eye and I wanted to see what was going on because I really truly love the laws that we have in Missouri. Would I change some of them? Sure. But overall, I feel like I'm freer than most of the country in the great state of Missouri, especially freer than the state of Connecticut. So this article was talking about essentially suicide rates. And as I saw the data, something really caught my eye, and I really want to give you a heads up before you really get into this video is people will make data any way they want it to look. And that's exactly what they did. So I just wanted to pull apart their whole argument because there's a lot of things to pull apart in this. And we're just going to start by saying that up until 1994, Connecticut had some of the freest gun laws in the entire country. You didn't even need a permit. You could literally walk into the door, pass your FBI background check, and walk out a few minutes later with a gun. And that's kind of the freedom I enjoy. However, in the state of Missouri, it was very strict. When I purchased my first 2 handguns in the state of Missouri, I had to go to the sheriff's department, apply for 2 handgun permits. I waited a few weeks. When I got those permits, I went in, still had to pass FBI background check, and then I received that. So, but yet in 2004, Missouri then did what Connecticut was doing before. So essentially what they did was both those states were mirror images of each other, and then they flip-flopped and became mirror images of each other again. And that's why we're going to take a look at this, because their data is, it is accurate, but they interpreted it the way they want to interpret it. And here's kind of what I'm getting at. Here's what their data says. According to their data, since the Connecticut law changes where they became significantly more stricter on gun laws, their suicide rates due to firearms went down 15%. Meanwhile, in Missouri, when their gun laws became way more free than ever before, their suicide rates by guns went up 16%. Now, according to preventive medicine, this is significant. That the argument here is that freer, looser gun laws lead to an increase in suicides, and this is far, far from the truth. And here is exactly why. Now, the thing that got me really interested in this was it all started with, I did a report many months back on Israeli gun culture. And what I found out is when Israel tightened up the gun laws, suicide rates did not decrease at all. As a matter of fact, the gun-related suicide rates did decrease, but suicides by strangulation or hanging increased significantly. So I was really curious to see, okay, well, gun-related suicides went down 15% in Connecticut, they went up 16% in Missouri, but did suicide rates go down or did they go up? Let's take a look at that. So I found an article by the state of Connecticut. It's written by the state of Connecticut Suicide Prevention Plan of 2020. It's titled One Word, One Voice, One Life. What they found out was between 2006 and 2014, the number of suicides for teenagers went from 16 per 100,000 to 19 per 100,000. And for middle-aged people, it went from 67 per 100,000 to 78 per 100,000. So here we have a great increase in suicides. So if you're decreasing suicide rates in firearm, how are these people killing themselves? Well, as it turns out, of all the suicides in the state of Connecticut, 40% of them are from strangulation. And then it listed 11 other types of suicides, only one of those being gun-related. Then I took a look at Missouri's rate. This comes from the Institute of Mental Health in the state of Missouri. Their numbers went from 18 in 1993 down to 10, so Missouri's suicide rates are actually decreasing. For teenagers, this is ages 15 to 24. Now 35 to 45, they actually increased from 35 to 45. So you do have a slight increase, and 50% of the suicides in the state of Missouri are firearm related. So here's what I believe. If you actually look at these numbers, in the state of Connecticut, you have roughly 100 people per 100,000 killing themselves, mostly by strangulation. Whereas in the state of Missouri, with the free laws, you have roughly 55 out of 100,000. So we have almost half the suicides that Connecticut has. So, it has nothing to do with firearms, because as a matter of fact, Connecticut suicides are going up. They're just getting more creative in ways to do it. The state of Missouri suicide rates didn't go up, they went down. So, sure, firearm-related suicides went up, but it comes down to, if you're going to kill yourself, you're going to find a way to do it. Connecticut had 11 different ways of figuring it out. Missouri only had 3. It was gun-related, strangulation, and then poison was the third, and those were the only 3 they listed in the entire state of Missouri. They had an other category, but it was very insignificant. It was like a 0.05%. So, when you see this data, when they say, okay, gun laws are working, gun laws have decreased suicide, gun laws haven't decreased suicide at all. The only thing gun laws have done is they've decreased the rate of firearm suicides. Now, here's what I believe the real issue is. The real issue is it's a hard issue. The state of Connecticut, I wonder, why is the rate of suicide so much higher in the state of Connecticut? And I believe it is the problem with the church. Where there is no truth in the church, there is no hope. And where there is no hope, you have a higher rate of suicide. Whereas in Missouri, in the middle of the Bible Belt, the churches, most of them, will speak truth. And where you have truth, you have hope. And where you have hope, you have a decreased suicide rate. And I just think when you get out to the East Coast, nothing against you East Coast folks, but when you get into states like Connecticut and New York, it's very liberal. And to be quite honest, you have a very decreased Christian attendance. Most churches are not preaching truth. They're preaching just kind of what tickles people's ears. Whereas here in Missouri, we tend to preach the truth. And where you find truth, you find hope. And where you find hope, it mends the heart. And when the heart is mended, there's no hopelessness and need to commit suicide. So, I felt it was important to do this video for a couple different reasons. One, people will turn the data into whatever they want. Go look at Science News. They're going to tell you that Connecticut decreased 15% suicide rate by gun suicides, while Missouri increased 16%. But yet, the reality is both those suicide rates in Connecticut increased, in Missouri it actually decreased. Why? Because you have churches speaking truth here. If you belong to a church, I'm just going to tell you, make sure you belong to a Bible-preaching, truth-beholding church that boldly speaks the truth, not just kind of speaks the truth or speaks the truth when it's convenient, but boldly speaks the truth. Because where you find truth, there you will find hope. And where you find hope, you find salvation, and that's really what it's all about. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. We are praying people, and we specifically pray for you. We really will pray for you. If you are finding yourself in a state of hopelessness, please don't hesitate to send in those prayer requests. We'll fall to our knees and pray for you. If you have any questions or comments, never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.